everybody. Welcome along to episode 91 of Percussion Discussion. As always, I'm going to ask you to please check out our social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course, our world famous YouTube channel. And as always, I'm going to ask, please, if you haven't already, please subscribe. It only takes a second. This way, it means you don't miss any of the upcoming episodes that we've got. And there are some crackers, and I don't want you to miss those. If you would rather listen on the go, then the great news is all of our conversations are available in podcast form. These are free to download from Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any of your favorite podcast providers. So if that's your thing, then you know what to do. Please subscribe, share it, like it, leave a short review if you get the chance. I really appreciate it. All really helps. On to today's guest. A legendary British drummer who has done some incredible work from his early days with Steve Harley and Cockney Rebel through to Alan Parsons. I think so many albums with Alan Parsons, I can't remember off the top of my head, but lots and lots of them. And possibly best known for his work with Kate Bush. And as we speak at the moment, he's actually played drums on the 1985 hit, which is a global UK #1 as we speak, which was the song Running Up That Hill. So a really apt time to be speaking to the fabulous Mr. Stuart Elliott. Stuart, thanks so much for doing this, mate. It's very kind of you.
Oh, it's good to see you, mate.
Hey, likewise. You know, and we don't see you doing many of these things. You kind of keep a low profile on social media, so it's nice to actually see you doing something like this. It's appreciated.
Yeah, I think we were supposed to be doing something months ago, weren't we, or maybe last year? And I didn't respond at the time because of all the lockdown and all the shit that was going on. I thought the last thing I want to do is an interview and nothing's happening.
Well, you know, you say nothing's happening. Stuff's happening now, isn't it? And it's an awesome time to have it. Anybody who's seen your publicity or your social media or Kate Bush's social media, things are on the move, aren't they? And incredibly, you tell us about it, because it's come out of nowhere, hasn't it?
Well, it's good timing. This interview is fun because it's only today I saw the news that Running Up That Hill is global #1. Not just #1 in America and here and there. I don't think it's #1 in every territory, but across an average of all territories, it's the top spot.
That is incredible, isn't it?
It is incredible. It's absolutely unbelievable, and it's come at a good time actually, because all the drought that we've had, with the lockdowns and then more lockdowns, no gigs, then, a few gigs, and everyone's like in cars like 3 miles away down, be behind the barriers. And then they've all got masks, and it's like, oh God, I'm not sure I want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Now it's sort of like, here comes the sun, and it's everything seems to be normal again.
It's amazing, and it's come from is it a TV thing? I've never seen it. Stranger Things.
Yeah,
is it?
Stranger Things. Yeah, I'm sort of started to watch it. I didn't realise that it's been going on for a while. Actually, it's there's 4 series, and I'm only on episode 3 of series 1.
Right.
I've got to get through to not series 4, episode 4 or something before I see the Kate Bush bit. But you got to. I tried sort of going straight in, but I didn't know what the hell was going on, because it's an evolving story. So I've got to sit through it and trawl through it.
But it's incredible, isn't it? It's everyone is so thrilled about it, because it's such an amazing thing to happen. They could have picked any song, and they picked that song. And for me, that song has a special memory, because that song, in fact, there's 2 songs that remind me of my first day of high school. The first one was Mid-Yaw, If I Was, because it was in the charts at the same time. And the second one was Running Up That Hill. I got on my bus to go to school, panicking, high school for the first day, and Running Up That Hill was the first song I heard. So there you go. So that's,
Right, yeah. Well, it's actually, even now it's quite a contemporary sounding recording.
Yeah.
We recorded it 37 years ago.
It's a long time ago, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's actually a bit of a travesty that Kate didn't get as much recognition. It was hitting in lots of places, but America's sort of was a bit funny place then. They're a bit sort of particular about it's got to be Bon Jovi or sort of rock music. clanging guitars, and I think they've expanded their horizons now, especially the young people. I mean, if you look at, I don't know if you shouldn't really say this, but if you look at the tracks below, if you've seen the global chart,
yeah. I don't know a lot of the ones in the chart. I'll be honest, I'm not that familiar.
There's a Harry Styles is number 2. I'll have a listen to that. So, to be honest with you, it's weak as water. And some guy called Bad Bunny has got three in the top 10, and I listened to one of those, and it's just a joke. It's an absolute joke. I mean, it's just like Toy Town music.
Yeah.
There's a good track on there. There's a girl called Lizzo.
Okay.
She's good. I mean, she's a great singer. It's kind of like Bruno Mars style, sort of real kind of great musicianship, great singing, great recording, just beautiful. It's just production and everything. But other than that, I was quite disappointed that the competition wasn't a bit stiffer,
But do you know, saying that, and I totally agree, I don't really listen to modern stuff. It's just not my thing. I'm sure there's some great stuff out there, but I'm stuck firmly in the 70s and 80s. But doesn't it show how strong that chart was in 1985? How strong music was in the 80s generally. When people like yourself were actually playing records, and it wasn't just computer generated.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was the same in the 60s and the 70s. Oh my God, you just look at the charts and any given week, and it's like, wow, all these songs after song after song, really, really great songs, Supremes and, oh my God, Stevie Wonder and that kind of stuff, Glenn Campbell.
Yeah.
It's like, great, just amazing songs.
And keeping musicians employed as well, not just a producer who's handy with a computer,
Yeah.
No.
I think that's probably, I mean, I know we all say, oh, you're just getting old, but I think the songwriting, those years, the 60s, 70s and 80s were a golden period for songwriting and production, but it's the songs that kind of get you in the end. And I think that's where Kate has come up trumps, because it's a really interesting song, great, interesting lyric, and it's produced brilliantly. It's really haunting. It's kind of really dark and menacing, but it's just something. It's unique. There's nobody's ever recorded a track like it.
No, you can't compare it to anything, can you? Because there's
not really. No, I mean, I think in recent years, in like the last 15, 20 years, there's been quite a lot of bands that do lots of tom patterns. A lot of the indie stuff. They're always on the toms, and which is great, as you get a lot of inventive patterns going on. But that was at a time that there wasn't really much of it going on.
This was the kind of, but towards the latter end of the phase where she was anti-cymbals and hi-hats, I'm guessing, was it?
There's no cymbals on that. Actually, I think there was cymbals on the album.
Was there?
Yeah, the cymbals hadn't been lost. They'd come back by it.
Right, okay. The album before, wasn't it, that was the big one with no...
Yeah, I can't remember which one it was. It might have been The Dreaming, Central World or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, because there's... which is what was it? Lionheart. I don't think there's much in the way of the symbols.
Oh yeah, no. Lionheart was just live, regular.
Was
track.
It?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think now.
No,
yeah. The Dreaming. The Dreaming was the album that it's a bit out there, isn't it? Let's say slightly different to the rest of the albums.
Yeah.
Interested. That's the one with no. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've got them mixed up. Yeah,
that was a real challenge actually, having no cymbals, no hi-hats, no flippings, nothing high register.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how do you subdivide evenly? Would there have been clicks involved in that, Stuart? Then
yes, I think there was. Not for Kick Inside, no clicks. Lionheart, no clicks. Where did they start coming in? What was Dreaming the third album? I've lost track of it. Oh no, Never Forever, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that was all live.
Yeah,
it was all live. So it was the one after that where the clicks started coming in.
Because thankfully this is drummers that watch this. Not many other folk. So the idea of having to play a groove without any hi-hats is terrifying for me. I don't know, how did you get around that? Was it done in one take, or was there drop-ins, or?
Well, I think there's always a drop in here and there, isn't there? If you're honest. But I can't. I'd have to sort of listen to a track and say, "Oh, this is what we did on this track," because
Yeah.
it would have started with some kind of Fairlight uh, pattern or Lynn pattern or just anything to get it going. Because Kate, when she started producing herself, she liked to get a track down before anyone came in.
Right.
So I'd be there on my own, which is a departure from the multi sort of big band sessions.
Yeah.
And in some ways, that kind of traps a song into it's got to be like that because it's already down. Whereas before, it would breathe and would sort of ebb and flow. And by the end of 2 or 3 hours of routining a song, it would change. And even though you didn't know what you changed, you think, well, I've just subtly listened to all the guys, and we listened to each other. And he's clocked my bass drum, and I've clocked him, and it will just sort of it's like sand sort of filtering down.
Natural thing, yeah.
On just own level, but you can't. With the modern way of doing things, it's like, oh well, let's get the click down, or get a guide. Get a guide pad. It was a keyboard pad in the 80s. I was putting a pad on. You hate pads now. And we'd sort of, if there was a pulse there already, it would be quite easy. But if there wasn't, if it was just a click, we'd have to sort of build it up in whichever best way we could, to sort of to replace, because you do need, the beauty of a drum kit is that you need the high frequencies of the cymbals and the mid frequencies of the toms and the snare and the low frequency of the bass drum, to make a proper rhythm. That's how you make a rhythm, isn't it? It's got to be low, high, and of course dynamics are important as well. But without that high register, it needed something. So we'd always sort of look for other little things, like little ceramic pots and tins and just anything to hit, with something, a brush or a hot rod or a stick, or shake something, or there's just endlessly looking for things that would fit the bill. It was a real challenge, actually.
I can imagine. I just can't imagine doing it. It's like having a hand tied behind your back, almost, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Mind you, Ringo did pretty well on something, didn't he?
Well,
that was brilliant drumming.
The master of that, let's be honest.
Yeah. It's harder I find it harder to do with a click than without, because you're constantly reevaluating your own timing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And sometimes it's all right to sort of push and pull, but when you're doing it with a click, the tendency is to push and then suddenly pull, rather than gradually pull. If you think, oh, I'm just pushing a bit, just gradually come, you don't notice it.
Yeah.
But when you're on a click and you just come forward by a nats or back by a nats, it's like poof, and that's when I hear that. It's just like, and I hate it. I hate hearing those little jump backs. So I always strive just to be as relaxed as possible. And sometimes, you're not aware that it's there, which is the best thing, really. But
I mean, I realise clicks are essential these days, but they do take a bit of the soul out of the song, a little bit, don't they?
They do, yeah. Because some tracks they kind of need to breathe,
Yeah.
It's like drum fills actually sound better when they just push a little, and then it comes back.
Yeah.
But you don't know whether you've ever tried to, when you're programming a track, when you quantize the fills, they just sound terrible. You have to put them in live, in order for it to sound right, and which means that the timing is slightly wrong, but it's better.
Yeah,
it's a weird thing. It's a really weird thing, and yeah, you're right. It can ruin a performance.
Oh.
Like I was listening to. I was only made aware recently. Someone posted Rolling Stones "Honky Tonk Woman" or "Women," and it starts off quite slow and it ends up really fast. Yeah. You wouldn't know it because it's such a slow transition. It doesn't sound like anyone, like Charlie's Rushing.
Yeah.
But by the end of it, it's the right tempo at the end and the right tempo. Yeah. It's a weird thing. There's lots of guys that say, "Oh, that's so unprofessional and speeding up is useless." So no, it's perfect.
It's natural. It's an ebb and flow, and there's another track. I believe "September" by Earth, Wind and Fire is another one that finishes quite a lot faster than it starts with.
Yeah, I think most things we did in the 70s, 60s, they do end up a little bit faster.
Yeah. It's not the end of the world, is it? But
No, it's not. As long as it does not feel like it's creeping forward, that's uncomfortable. When you feel that forward creep all the time, you know, that's horrible. That's not nice at all.
And especially live, if, you know, in a gig, you know, when you've got the adrenaline flowing, it's one of those things. It's a natural thing to do. And
A little bit. I don't really do that so much now. I learned how to relax quite late in life when I'm playing, and I wish I could go back and sort of with, you know, what I have now with that same, because I used to sweat buckets on stage. Mind you, we had hotter lights in those days. They're all
park
analog lights. That's right. It's all digital lights now. But when I did sessions, I used to come out wringing wet as well, just because I'm not relaxed. But now I'm dry as a bone all the time. You know, it's you might think that's because I've got no energy left, but quite the contrary. I feel that I'm more confident in my timekeeping as a result, because I'm not kind of like freaking out about this, that, and everything. It's just like I feel much more grounded and relaxed.
Sure.
And it sounds better. I've listened to it play that, but yeah, that sounds right. It's not speeding up. It's not slowing down. It just sounds spot on, really, which is kind of what you want. I went through a period in the 80s where I started doubting my own time. I didn't have that in the 70s, but it's only the 80s after clicks came in, and I was sort of, I don't know what other drummers went through at that time, but it was a bit of a thorn in my side, you know, sort of Lynn drums coming up and taking over, and you trying to replicate that power and accuracy and everything. But thankfully now it's the preferred thing to have real playing.
Yeah. Do you know, I'm so glad you said that, because most 90% of the gigs I do are click gigs, and it's like a safety blanket, isn't it? You know, you're not to blame for anything. You know, I'm right. I'm with the click. I'm reading it, whatever. But you take that away. I've done a couple of gigs, nothing, mate, just tiny little things, and there's no click, and I start to genuinely panic. I'm like, hang on a minute, am I pushing or dragging, or you know, you doubt it. You take that safety blanket away, and it's a bit of a scary thing. For me, it was as well.
Yeah, it's the opposite with me. I feel good when there's no click, and then I have to sort of readjust when there is a click.
Yeah,
like when Gordon, we were talking about Gordon, your friend.
Yeah, sure.
Earlier, he sends me tracks, and of course I have to generate my own click because it's all done to a click.
Yeah.
And depending on the tempo, sometimes it will take me a few goes around to actually feel that time, the way the click wants it.
Yeah.
And it really puts me off, actually. I get quite despondent when that happens. I think, oh, shit. We've got some great practice sessions, and it's all great, and it's all swinging. And then there's a click, donk, donk. Oh, my God, here we go again. It's like the 80s all over again.
Hands have been tied.
But you get there in the end, and you think, well, yeah, it sounds good. But it doesn't have quite that sort of breath that we all love. And we don't, you know, a lot of people, they don't realise what it is that they love about what they're hearing, you know, and those little lunges forward and backwards, and, you know, instruments not being on top of each other exact, you know, you get sort of a bit of a spread and everything. It's like adds a bit of thickness. Yeah, that's where the magic really happens.
Music, it's called, Stuart, isn't it? Music.
Yeah.
Hey, look, if you don't mind, let's go back to the kind of beginning where you know, kind of your first memory. Let me forget drums for now. What's your first memories of music as a kid?
Oh, yeah. Well, my dad, he was a big band drummer.
Ah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. He was, what's her name? Lena Horne's drummer when she came to Europe.
Well, isn't that bizarre? Lena Horne is one of my favourite singers in that genre. I think she's got an incredible. That's bizarre.
Yeah. I'll send you a photograph of him on the stage with her.
Please.
When he was young, he's only about 21 or 22 or something. But he did the big bands. He only passed away just last year. 98 it was.
Wow, that's a great age.
But yeah, he was in Lena Horne's band. That was so. My first memory, obviously, is being, you know, him in the living room with the drums and me on next to him with the pots and pans, you know, when I was about 3. I was about 3 years old. And he used to obviously play a lot of Buddy Rich, Dave Brubeck, Duke Ellington. That's what in fact, the one drummer that really captivated me, you know, Buddy Rich, just like Actually, my dad took me to a Buddy Rich clinic
Wow.
when I was 10.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my goodness. And at the time, I thought, I might as well give up. That's no point.
It didn't put you off then.
It kind of did. I felt a bit heartbroken, that I thought I was all right, I saw him and oh my God, it was just blinding. It was just absolutely blinding. I remember one of the guys in the audience said to him, hey, buddy, who's your favourite drummer? He said, I am.
Well, that's confidence.
The other thing he says, what do you do to warm up? He says, I'll take my hands out of my pockets. It's just such a
yeah.
So my dad took me to see Buddy, but he also took me to see the Dave Brubeck Quartet in Victoria, the New Vic in Victoria, right, which was a cinema as well.
With Joe Morello.
Joe Morello.
Oh.
And he is the man that was more influential on my playing, and still is. Because of something, his playing really captivated me, because he was a Tom's man, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Apart from the blinding sort of snare technique,
of course,
his sort of interesting kind of African sort of things really captivated me in the same way that Ginger Baker did. That came later though. But Joe Morello, it really. In fact, I remember doing a session with Steve Harley. It was in between when we had, the Cockney Rebel was 2 incarnations of the band.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. It
was the original band, which was the violin, and they're all kind of like glam rock, punk sort of things. And then there was the sort of the rock band guitar, Jim Cregan and the boys on guitar. But in between, there wasn't a band for a short period. And Steve took me into the studio, and we did this song called "Throw Your Soul Down Here," which is a B-side to. It might have been a B-side to "Make Me Smile" or something, but it then made an album. But it was I'd heard Billy Cobham by then, so I was doing the around the toms, But another thing I remember B.A. Robertson was on piano.
Oh wow, okay.
In fantastic piano part.
Yeah.
You must listen to it. It's a fantastic little track. Herbie Flowers was on double bass.
Oh my God! Right, okay.
It was a wicked little track.
What a lineup!
It was a throwaway as a B-side, and I did this fill at the end. Which was like a sort of three flams in a row.
Yeah.
And BA said, "Hey, Joe Morello."
Oh, really?
Joe Morello. I said, "You're right. Yeah, he's one of my heroes." But I wasn't consciously copying Joe Morello. It just soaked in as a kid. Listening to him. It's it's just like he would have played on Take 5.
Yeah.
It's just the 3 little flams in a row. I don't do that now. I've never done it since. But Joe Morello. Yeah, so that was my main sort of starting point.
Wow.
Then shortly after that, the Beatles came out.
Right.
Rolling Stones, and that was it. That was what captivated me. I can't argue that.
Proper musical education.
It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. We used to come home from school at lunchtimes. I used to have lunch at home at school when I was at school. And I'd get straight on the drums and play to the Beatles and Rolling Stones and all that stuff on the gramophone, the old big brown gramophone. Oh, it's brilliant.
I mean, that's the good thing for you, I guess. There was no, please, can I have a drum kit? It was there, and I'm sure your dad was more than happy for you to play it as well.
Yeah, it was in the bedroom. It was in the main bedroom, his bedroom, in the corner. Yeah.
Did he teach you as well, or did he kind of leave you to it?
Yeah, he left me to it. Yeah. Actually, there's one thing that I sort of regret never having had was any sort of like a good teacher to iron out sort of my technical my want of a bit of technique. So I just found my own way. And the funny is we all sort of gravitate to the same thing, don't we? The fulcrum in the same place, and nobody ever told me about the fulcrum, but it's just natural. The little ruffs and the drags, they just came out without thinking, But I was very much used arms a lot.
Yeah.
And I didn't really develop my wrists until much later in life, actually. It's like, I don't know how I got through it, but a good teacher would have been really good.
Yeah, but you do find your own way, and I think without a teacher, you kind of develop your own style a little bit more. There's nobody to influence you one way or the other, I think. But although, as you say, useful for, for technique and what have you. But
yeah, but conversely, a bad teacher can do a lot of damage. So who do you go and see unless unless my dad knew somebody? But no, I think I sort of erred on the side of trusting my ears more than anything. I think that's one thing that I always did. I always sort of listened to who I was playing with.
Yeah.
Listen to the vocals, listen to the lyrics, and all that kind of thing. And I think if you don't listen, I think that kind of holds you back, because it's very easy to just play all the chops that that's a good chop, that's a good fill. It's like there's loads of videos now telling you how to do one fill,
Yeah.
and most of them are completely unusable.
Yeah, that's the thing. Great in a clinic.
They're just over the top garbage, really. They don't fit any song unless you're doing, gospel songs and gospel chops and stuff. But it's just like the focus for me is in the wrong place.
Yeah.
The place to focus is, what's the song all about? What's the feel of it? And once you've got that, you can sort of slip in little things here and there.
Of course.
It's got to be that way round.
Yeah. And what you've just said, though, you listen to the vocals, to everything, and I heard somebody, and I can't remember who it was, and they described somebody else as in a similar sort of style, and it said that he's a big picture drummer. He hears the whole thing rather than, just oh yeah, I'll play this. This will fit. You listen to the song and enhance it rather than just turn it into a shed fest.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's one way of doing it, but I wouldn't say it's wrong as such, but it's harder to get it right, or it's harder to please whoever you're playing with or for. Especially if you're doing sessions, you can't fuck around.
No. So has drums always been work for you? Did you go straight from school to gigging and recording and stuff, or did you?
No, I went straight into a shop.
Hey.
A boutique in the King's Road, actually. It was. It's selling menswear and all that shit.
Right.
It was quite fun, though. King's Road was a swinging place to be.
I can imagine.
1969, 70. I was 15, just turning 16. And it was good. Going to the Chelsea drugstore and stuff. It was great. But it took me until I was 17. It took me until, so I left school at 15. So it took me 2 years. My first professional gig was with Adam Faith.
Oh wow! Okay, who was massive at the time, right?
Yeah, he'd only just come out of that sort of resurgence of his popularity with Budgie. Remember that?
Yes,
program Budgie did that sort of, drama thing. It was drama. It was like a semi-comedy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
A roadie that was in a school band kind of got this connection. He said, "Oh, do you fancy doing a tour with Adam Faith?" I said, "Yeah." Do I? It was a 5-week tour of the Northern Men's Working Clubs.
Oh, all right, lovely.
It was brilliant. Oh, it was magic. Like 50 quid a week, and you got to drive to like Birmingham, find your own accommodation, and sort of pay for it yourself. And it's not like it is now. So I did that. I did the auditions and passed those, and went out with Adam for 5 weeks.
Amazing.
And when I came back, I thought, all right, that's it. I'm a musician now. Then there was no work after that. So I went on the dole. And in those days, in the dole, they had, there was a special queue for people in the arts.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep, had a special queue for actors and so. And in front of me in the queue was... do you remember Reggie Perrin's
yes.
The Rise and Fall of Reggie? Remember the guy that said, I didn't get where I am today by this and that and the other?
God,
he was a tall guy.
Oh, yes, I do.
CEO. He was the CEO of the company. I didn't get where I was today by sitting around on my backside thinking about how I got where I am today, that sort of thing. He was in the front of the queue in front of me. So I got my sort of £4 or whatever it was. And then it was like 9 months later, after sort of joining another, having a job in another shop, on Henry's Radio in the Edgware Road. I got connection through and joined Steve's band.
Yeah, things start to happen then.
Oh man, I mean, if that hadn't happened, I don't know. It's hard to tell, isn't it? I mean, that was my leg up into the music business properly, because we were signed within a year, and we had, I think, Judy Teen was a hit a few months after that, and then it was just plain sailing for about 3 years.
There must have been incredible times, those, when you look back. You must look back fondly on those, right?
Oh yeah, it was magic. I love it. I sort of kind of what I love about it is the innocence that we all had and the naivety. We didn't have any anything to compare by. We just sort of got into couldn't wait to get to a rehearsal room, dingy, stinking little rehearsal room, and we'd thrash out all these Steve songs and just, it was total magic. You have that when you're young. I mean, I don't really have that same thing now. It's kind of a bit more kind of
subdued.
Yeah, a bit more low key. But, it was magic.
I think when you're young, though, you look forward to everything you're going to do musically. When it becomes a job, it's slightly more of a chore, and it's like, oh God, here we go.
Well, I did find that when I broke off into doing sessions, a lot of the sessions I thought, I wish I wasn't here. But then you get magic times like the kick inside, total chemistry.
Oh, big time.
Did the first album with Alan Parsons, Pyramid.
Well, I was going to say about that. Was your first meeting with Alan Parsons the second Cockney Rebel album? Because I know he was co-producer. Yeah. I was wondering if that was where you'd first met each other.
It was, yeah. That was where I first met Alan, because he co-produced Psychomodo, and I think Best Years of Our Lives album.
Which is a great album. The song "Tumbling Down" in particular, I love. The string arrangements. Well,
that was Andrew Powell. He was another one of the family that I met.
Right.
The arranger. I spoke to Andrew Powell a few days ago. I speak to him every week. Yeah, so that's how I met Alan. But when I did the kick inside, Andrew Powell, who did this, he was the producer of the kick inside. Right, so that's the same guy. So we're talking about, this is how that family sort of worked and how the network worked.
Yeah.
He was the producer, and he got me in, and he also got Ian Benson and David Payton from Pilot.
What a rhythm section.
Guitar and bass, guitar and bass, and Duncan Mackay on keyboards, who was also in Cockney Rebel. So we all got to play together on the kick inside. And at that time, I remember Stuart Tosh was the drummer on the Alan Parsons Project, first 2 albums. And he left. He joined 10cc, so he was no longer available. So Ian and David said, "Oh, we'll have to have a word with Alan." And Alan said, "Oh, I know him. Yeah, let's get him in." So that was it for another 10 albums.
Isn't that incredible?
It is incredible. It's that. See, that's the sad thing that doesn't exist anymore in the music business, where you get teams of people coming together to record and meeting new people and swapping phone numbers and recommending each other. Now it's just, you'll turn up in the studio and it's just you do an overdub and you go. So
that's quite sad, isn't it, when you put it like that?
Or you do it remotely. You do it in your own studio, and I've done a bit of that, and I quite like doing it, but it's not sounding as well. It's different though, because you get to produce your own drum sound. You get to produce your own part, and you get to sort of do what you want. And then deliver it.
Of course.
Whereas when you're in a session with somebody, you have to just stop when the producer says that's the one.
Yeah.
And you might say, "Oh no, there's a little thing there I don't like." "Oh, that's fine, it's fine." "Oh, please let me just redo that bit." No, and you think, "Sod, I would really need to redo that bit." You go away thinking, "Oh shit," And I think all musicians get that when they leave the studio.
I think so. But at the end of the day, if the producer's happy, you've earned your money, you've done your job, and that's that, I guess. I suppose.
Well, that is the job. You just have to just do as you're told, really, or just don't do the job.
Well, can I just skip back a tiny bit to the third Cockney Rebel album? And there's some great, obviously the hit, which Cockney Rebel is synonymous for. Come Up and See Me. is on there, but my favourite song on that album is the 49th Parallel, which is just it's a drummer's dream, that, isn't it?
It was it's fantastic. That song we wrestled with. That's the one song we wrestled with the most. It started off live, and you'll laugh about this. Instead of the drum kit, I got a pair of congas between my legs, and I had a hi-hat on my left foot and my bass drum on the right. And I was doing all this nonsense, trying to do something different. And in the end, we said, "This is not happening. It's really not happening." So Jim Cregan started doing a little funky pattern, so I started locking in with him.
Yeah,
it just turned into sort of like a two hands on the hi-hat, but it was not just it was, you know.
Oh, I know that.
And it's sort of funny little patterns involved and everything. It was a lot of fun doing it, actually.
But if anybody hasn't heard it, it's 49th Parallel, and it's worth listening to, isn't it? Because it's fun. It's drummers. It's amazing.
Oh, thank you. I always had this thing where I wanted to invent something for every song.
Yeah.
And I've done it a few times. In fact, one of the tracks that I invented a part for, or I was hoping it might turn into like a Purdy Shuffle, but I never played it again after that. It was a song called One Stage Before on the Year of the Cat album.
Okay.
It's an odd little pattern. It's a strange little pattern. It's really easy, and it kind of just fell under my hands and fingers really naturally. But I only ever played it on that song and never again. I never played anything after that. It just didn't fit anything else.
Yeah. It's a shame that happens, isn't it?
Yeah, it was funny. Yeah, it was funny. And I did some the Albert Hall with Al a few years back, and he said to me, you know, that song, that drum pattern you played. He says every drummer I've ever had, they can't play it. And it's not because it's difficult. It's not difficult. It's really simple. But it's not the sort of thing that you sort of naturally fall to, do.
Yeah.
It's because the basis of the song is a 6/8. So the guitars are going jing jigga jigga jing jigga jigga jing jigga jigga jing jigga jigga jing. Very powerful, powerful groove. I thought, well, I don't need to do that. That's done. That's been done for me. So instead of that, I played the bass drum on the snare, just the but the hi-hat was the thing that stumped everyone, which is instead of just playing a straight pattern, it was more of a did it, and all that second beat was just like you're doing a double stroke roll with a bounce after.
Sure.
So it's just basically double stroke. Take one hand away.
Yeah,
you got what I was doing on the step. It's like it sounded like an echo because Alan Parsons, he put a plate reverb on it.
Okay. So
it sounds like it's got a repeat on it, but it's just me just doing that second one very quietly. It's really easy. The easiest thing in the world is like falling off a log for me, but it's only because it's just came from me, and nobody else. All the guys that listen to it, what's he doing there? So they start going, did it bad, did it bad. No, that doesn't work. It's too heavy, and then they go trying to force that second beat out, and you don't need to. It's just like a bounce,
Yeah, of course.
It's just a totally relaxed thing, but it's stumped a lot of drummers.
Just remind us of the title again.
It's One Stage Before.
One Stage Before, right? Okay, and it's on the Year of the Cat album, yeah.
One Stage Before, yeah.
Okay, right. Well, I've listened to that.
Yeah. It's a beautiful album. It's songwriting. It's just sublime.
Well, because let's be honest, Al Stewart plays everything as well, doesn't he? He's a multi-instrumentalist. So,
is he?
I believe so. That's what I've been told. I thought he plays a bit of all sorts of things, but
I was aware.
I could be wrong. I have been many times before, but there we are.
I'm not sure. I can't really say for sure, but I've never seen him play anything else.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, well.
He's a good acoustic guitarist, though.
Yeah. And great voice as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Alan Parsons, just, how enjoyable was that? I mean, you're literally, you think about it, you've been surrounded by the best musicians since the 70s, haven't you? You've been just encompassed
Yeah.
in amongst them all.
Yeah, and the great thing is that we often used to do lots of sessions together
Yeah.
because part of that family.
Yeah.
So from day one, you've got the chemistry. You know what it is, and you'll feel time the same way. That's the key for it for me. If you all feel time in the same pocket,
Yeah, absolutely.
suddenly you think, oh, these guys are great, and they might not be playing anything blindingly brilliant, but it's just because you feel it. You sort of feel it. You know, you feel good with them.
It's really important, isn't it? It really is. You
Oh,
know,
it's very important.
you lock in, you got that groove, that feel. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah, and when you have a band of musicians where the drummer doesn't feel that he has to lead them, or they don't have to, they don't have to rely on the drums for their timekeeping.
Yeah.
But you just do it at the same time. Just play. You play the way you play, but you all happen to be playing it the same way.
Yeah.
That's when the chemistry really solidifies for me, and those great albums come out. And there's only about half a dozen albums that I can say I've had that magical experience with. The first one was Kick Inside.
Yeah.
No, sorry, it wasn't. No, Year of the Cat was before that.
Right.
That was incredible chemistry. And then Kick Inside. After that, it was Pyramid for Alan Parsons' third album. That was just a brilliant album. The production. The thing about the production with Alan is that you go in. He's the only producer I've ever worked with that when you go into the control room, the only producer engineer that I've ever worked with, go into the control room and it's like a finished mix.
Really?
Yeah, he's putting the reverbs on everything and the space and the distance and everything. You think, oh, wow. Because a lot of sessions, you must notice that they just do everything dry. Everything's dry as a bone, and it's like, yeah, we'll do it in the mix, we'll fix it all in the mix, get all the sounds in. And that was what set Alan apart from a lot of the competition. Yeah. He was mixing it already.
So you're hearing the magic as it goes along, basically.
Yeah, and it stirs you up. You go back in for another go, and I'll do another track. You think, wow, this is great. So your confidence boost just goes through the roof, and it's a sort of self kind of fulfilling feeding machine,
Just incredible.
I love it.
I mean, you don't get any more legendary than Alan Parsons, do you? Really? Let's be honest. So it's.
No, he really was a special producer. I mean, I think he still is. I mean, he still makes his albums. In fact, the last album he did, The Secret, it's really well recorded, well balanced. I love the way he balances music. Yeah. He's never been a drum orientated mixer. In fact, he admitted himself when he actually does a mix, he turns the drums off.
Oh, really?
He mixes all the music.
Wow.
The orchestra and the guitars, and he gets them all in place. And then when he's happy with that, he can hear, then the vocal was crystal clear. He brings the drums up.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, it is an interesting one because if you listen to a lot of old '60s music, the drums are kind of way off in the distance most of the time, aren't they? Because they're usually at the back of the room and the mic is sort of near the front of the room. But that's a beautiful sound. You still get all the energy from the drums, like some of those Supremes numbers, Motown.
Yeah.
The drums were kind of, you could hear the sort of the plate echo and the distance, and then there's a tambourine up the front to sort of give it more edge. But that style of balancing is still my favourite.
Yeah.
Where everything's got, there's like 3Ds, you've got depth in the mix. Whereas now everything has to be. And they put compression on it and squash it out, and it's like bang it out into sort of like a tube of music.
Too perfect.
I find it really, really fatiguing listening to music that's been produced and packaged like that. Yeah. And then when you listen to something that's got space and air and depth, it's so much nicer.
Yeah. I mean, I spoke to Brian Bennett, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking about the Shadows recordings, how much space they had. There was no treading on toes. And he said, well, a mixture between the arrangements and the way it was recorded. He said it was just space for everybody. And it's the same thing, isn't it, what you've been talking about?
Yeah, well, they were really good pop musicians.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Brian Bennett back in the day, and the guy before him, Tony Meehan, was it?
Hmm. Yeah,
They had chops. They were like rudimental drummers,
yeah.
whereas I wasn't. I still try and do paradiddles, and still my left hand is still cut it off and get a new one.
You've kind of done all right without a paradiddle, haven't you? Let's be honest.
Actually, no, a lot of my films are based on paradiddles. I sort of, go around. I used to sort of, in the old days, everyone goes around the drums like that.
Yeah.
I tend to sort of do more, sort of do doubles instead of going round and doing singles. So they're in there. They're in there.
Makes it interesting, doesn't it?
But in a rudimental sense, I never ever really learned all the rudiments as such. I mean, I could obviously do flams and paradiddles and doubles and singles, but beyond that, I kind of just lose interest.
I think sometimes you're learning them for learning them's sake, just so you know them. Beyond the ones you've mentioned, I don't really. I'll probably get shot for saying this, but I don't see the importance of the other ones too much. Put it that way.
Well, no, they do nothing for me when I see them demonstrated on YouTube videos. I think, well, yeah, that's good. It's nice to be able to do it, but I'm not sure what I'd do with it,
Yeah, I mean, that 5 and 6 stroke roll I use occasionally, but apart from that, I don't bring much more to the party,
Yeah, I mean, it depends what your musical outlet is. If you're in a sort of some kind of jazzy, fusiony sort of band where you're playing lots of solos or whatever, then it's great. If you're doing a solo spot every night, then maybe all that stuff really comes in handy. But I don't really do solos, so I don't know.
Well, but Alan Parsons, I've loved the Alan Parsons stuff for a long time. I think Games People Play was the first song I heard, which is such a great. It's one of them really commercial songs, isn't it? Where you just can't help but like it. It's a great hook. And it's one thing I've never quite understood. Obviously, it's the Alan Parsons Project. Now he's known as a producer and engineer. What involvement does he have? He obviously puts the band together. Does he write? Does he get into the songwriting heavily as well?
Well, I'll tell you how it worked. His partner Eric Wolfson, who used to manage Carl Douglas, Kung Fu Fighting.
Yeah.
And he was also a flipping brilliant songwriter, and he had this concept album that he wanted to record. And at the time, Alan was kind of getting sort of some notoriety with having mixed Dark Side of the Moon. And Eric wanted the best for his songs, right? So he wrote loads of songs based on the Tales of Edgar Allan, Tales of Mystery and Imagination. That's the first album, prog rock. I didn't play on that. I came in on album 3. But Eric approached Alan, and he wanted Alan to be the vehicle for his concept. A part of which Alan tended to write the instrumentals. That was his thing. There was always an instrumental on an Alan Parsons project, or maybe 2 instrumentals. They were his.
Yeah.
And Eric wrote the songs and the lyrics for the rest of it.
Sure.
But having said that, I mean, they had a lot when we were recording the album, we'd be sort of falling asleep in between takes because they'd go off in another room to talk about the arrangement and talk about how the song should be structured. Because the really weird thing is when Alan came to the studio with us, it was the first time we heard it, and it's the first time Alan had heard it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he didn't want to hear all the stuff. He just wanted to sort of react to it and arrange it properly rather than doing sort of zillions of demos and twatting about with
so in the moment
meeting up with Eric, so yeah, he was there. So they'd have lots of meetings in between takes, and we'd all be trying to play table tennis, and then they say, right, let's do another take, and we sort of try and wake up, sort of get the sleep out of your eyes. So it was quite painstaking working with them, but Alan sort of did knock Eric's stuff into the most amazing shape. Yeah. He's a really, really, really musical producer. Well, I mean, Alan is he's a musician as well.
Of course.
Not so much a performing music. Well, he does perform his music now, but he played some keyboards, bass, and guitar. He wrote. He could write music. He did a string arrangement on Steve Harley when he did a track for his girlfriend, and he wrote a quartet part for it. So he was a good musician, but he used to just have good ideas. He'd know when something's not right.
Mm-hmm.
He'd know when something's being overplayed or when something should come in and when it should stop. Yeah, yeah.
It's this thing I've often wondered, because obviously you see the name and you often wonder, well, what input does he have into it? Obviously, apart from the obvious ones. So I guess musician choices would have been Alan's as well. Pretty much.
Yeah. Well, it was started off as the whole band was the band Pilot.
Yeah.
Who Alan produced.
Of course.
He liked the band. He liked their musicianship. So the first album, or the first two albums, was all of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, keyboards, guitar, drums, and bass.
Yeah. And then it developed, obviously, over the years. Yeah,
then Eric, who played great piano, he sort of ousted the keyboard player, in favour of his own performance.
Mm.
And then Stuart Tosh left, as I said, for 10cc.
Yeah.
And then I jumped in, and that was it for the next 15 years, I think.
It's a long time, isn't it? You know, to have that longevity with one band these days is pretty incredible, I think.
Yeah. Well, I've had the same with Kate in a way.
Yeah.
I played 10 of her. She lost count, to be honest. It's about 10 albums, I think.
Yeah.
Up until Ariel. I mean, there are other drummers. I don't want everyone to think.
No, of course.
I mean, Charlie Morgan played on some tracks.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of tracks, actually. Preston Hayden played on some. Steve Gadd's got the drum seat now.
Has he really?
Yes. Mind you, if I'm going to hand over the crown to anybody, why not? Oh, no. There's no sour grapes at all. I mean, it's just one of those things, you know. He did he played on the director's cut, make recuts with
right.
And then he did the 50 Words for Snow.
Ah, right. Okay. So,
yeah.
I mean, as you say, if you're going to hand it over to somebody, why not be Gadd? You know,
Well, you know, I was wondering when it might happen. I thought it's going to happen one day. It's going to happen one day. Because at the time, I remember when we recorded Babooshka and Breathing for Never Forever. I was a Gadd fanatic. I just adored his playing. I didn't sit down and copy him.
No.
But there are a few little things that, if you listen to Breathing, you'll hear a couple of little things that I do in the break. You know, the breakdown section.
I do. I know the bit. Yeah.
I do the little cymbal. It's exactly what he did. You remember? I don't know if you remember this pattern, but he used to do this thing where he'd have his right hand on the cymbal or the bell.
Yeah.
Left hand on the hi-hat. And he used to create this illusion that he was playing 16s because the foot was playing one of the beats. And then with the spare beat he had, he'd play the offbeat.
Yeah. Clever little thing, yeah.
It was an offbeat hi-hat, but this thing, you thought, how's he playing 16s on the hi-hat? But there was one little beat missing because the bell was filling it in and the snare was filling it in. It's just one of those brilliant little things. I thought, oh, I'm having that. So I slipped a couple of little flourishes in the middle of Breathing with that. And the rest is history. I thought, oh, she's going to discover him one day. He's going to get the gig one day. There he is. Got it. But it's so late in the day that it doesn't trouble me because I'm just so thankful that I did what I did with her.
Oh, it's incredible.
I mean, sometimes I have to pinch myself and think, how lucky am I to have been asked back so many times by the people that asked me back, and got to play on some really iconic songs with some great songwriters. It's like they're the lifeblood of the whole thing, really.
It's an amazing legacy of songs, isn't it? You know that.
Oh, just wonderful.
You know, when she could have, let's be honest, anybody play on her records. The fact that you know, as you said, you've been asked back time and time and time over. That says a lot about you as well, doesn't it? You know, so.
Well, yeah. If someone likes what we did in the last session, then why sort of change it? But mind you, Kate always chopped and changed when you least expect it. I mean, that's what's kind of good about her, because she really thinks and very carefully about how she wants a song to be. And she thinks about who would do it best. You know, who would be best on this. And I think she made some great choices. I mean, Charlie played some great drums on Hounds of Love.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's really good tracks. Yeah.
Did or does Kate get involved in like arrangements for drums and things? Will she step in and say, "I don't want that," or "I want more"?
Oh yeah.
She gets involved. Then that's good.
Oh yeah, but that's ever since she became the producer behind the glass, and the track was already down, so she can focus like 100% on whoever's playing.
Yeah.
She's got so much patience, man. If I was in the studio and it was my song and then I got all these musicians in, I'd be freaking out if it's not right instantly, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Oh no, that's horrible. Oh, don't play that. Oh my god. Oh, I like that bit. Do that again. And then they don't do it again, you know, so because you can't remember what they did, you know. But she was so calm and relaxed, and it doesn't matter how long it takes. She's sweet and lovely, calm, gracious. It's a pleasure to work with someone like that. There's never any, oh man, you've screwed it up. What's going on? You know, are we ever going to get this? You know? But she would have very specific things that she didn't like.
Yeah,
she doesn't like a lot of drum fills.
Okay.
Which is, when you listen to a lot of the stuff that she's producing, you'll see that it's kind of trimmed down and trimmed down and trimmed down and trimmed down until it's almost machine-like.
Yeah.
Whereas on the first album, it was more kind of things going on. But she would always find a way of, with subsequent overdubs, to put those things in there that you didn't do. Because when you play to a very empty track, you tend to overplay, don't you?
Of course, you fill it up.
Nothing here, so I might as well do something to carry it along.
Yeah.
And then when you hear it, the finished product, you think, oh yeah, there's a little kind of ethnic guitar thing that's doing all the timing, so I didn't need to do that, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But that, conversely, it's nice to know that in advance if you can, but you never get that luxury, especially working with Kate, because she has to do it in her own timing and get everything in place. There was quite a few times where I'd come back and redo my parts and make changes to how the track had changed.
Yeah.
In fact,
this is out of choice. This is out of your choice now, or Kate's choice?
No, Kate's choice. You'd say, we want to do this now. There was one track on the album. Can't remember what, the last album, Aerial. It was, the funny thing about that album is you'd think the tracks because Pete Erskine was on, he was on one track actually, but the two tracks that you would think it was him, because they were the sort of more swingy or jazzy ones, it's actually me.
Oh, right, okay.
And he played the more Steely Dan one.
Yeah.
Right? But the one, I can't remember, it was the one time when Kate kind of got bored with the drum sounds. She wanted to get some electronic drums, and so we got the V drums in.
Mm-hmm.
But ironically, I was playing like a little bossa nova on it, very light, with this little offbeat hi-hat. And I found that the velocity thing on the hi-hat was suddenly going, so all of a sudden it would jump out when you get one point beyond the velocity. Oh God. So I was like just touching it as gently as possible. And it was a full-on sort of flowing.
Yeah, sure.
So we did that for a while. And then we sort of reworked it where we completely ditched that. And I played the classic, like Babylon Sisters thing over it instead, and turned it into a so it was a and then it did that, and everyone, it just this is my moment to get out there and play that groove, and the old Purdy shuffle thing.
Yes.
And it was lovely. And then her engineer accidentally wiped the overhead in a spot, so I had to come back and redo it.
All right, okay.
And then after that, she decided she didn't want that groove anymore and go back to the old bossa nova. I've been robbed. So we went back and I did the bossa nova thing on the V drums. It should have been an acoustic kit. It's made for that sort of groove.
Of course.
That's what we had. So I made it sound like I got an acoustic-y sound, jazzy sound on from the sample, and it went back to its original groove.
What you could have had, eh?
Yeah, I did slip in that little Purdy thing on Babooshka.
Yeah, right. Okay.
You can't really hear it. It's just for a moment where the snare starts kicking in. that, and then it goes into the thing. But I never really got a proper chance to do my Purdy shuffle. Oh, I still do it now. It's still one of my favorite grooves. I do it differently to him, and Ash Sowen is another exponent of it, and he does it differently to me as well.
Yeah.
But
I mean, there's so many. I mean, you know, you think like "Fool in the Rain," Bonham and stuff. There's loads of variations of it here and there, isn't there?
Yeah, it's the same thing, isn't it? It's the same thing. Oh,
yeah,
lovely. It's a lovely groove to play.
Great groove. So look, you know, what are you up to at the moment? Are you managing to keep busy? You're still doing lots of sessions and bits and pieces, and
well, up until a few months ago, I was during all the lockdowns. I was making library music.
All right, okay.
And I think I saw off about 33 tracks.
Amazing.
In the first lockdown, that was the first 3 months, and I just went into it, you know. Which was a very enjoyable time actually, because remember the weather in that first lockdown?
It was beautiful.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, when I wasn't making music, I was out in the garden putting new trellis up and getting sunburned, and I thought, I love this lockdown. But after the first one, the second one kicked in, and the weather was a bit more shit. And I thought, yeah, I'm not enjoying this at all. And then after the third one, I've had enough of this effing library music. But you know, at the same time, I practice my drums every day.
Yeah,
I play them absolutely every day without fail, apart from when I'm decorating a house or something.
Sure. So
it's been a good time to actually focus on just playing.
Yeah.
Grooving and everything. You know,
it's not often you get the chance to do that, is it? You know, when you have nothing but time, that's what you've got.
Yeah, well, I don't spend a long time on the drums every day. I tend to sort of like do 10 minutes, 15 minutes, go away, do something else, and come back, and maybe four or five times in a day, I'll do like two little 10-minute snippet. If I'm in the house, I'll just do some pad work for the dreaded left hand, which is it's not having it at all, really. But you got to keep trying. You can't.
We're all in that club. Don't worry.
Yeah, but, since all the lockdowns lifted, I'm still doing gigs with Steve Harley.
Good.
And we did a couple last week. Did Cambridge Corn Exchange, St Albans, and I'm also doing some shows with. You know, I said Jim Cregan, a guitarist in Cockney Rebel. He left us in '76 to join Rod Stewart. And he was with Rod Stewart for about 20 years, writing songs with him and touring, and did really, really well. Since he split with Rod, they're good mates actually, but he's just, you know, Rod's got his own thing going now.
Sure.
Jim's got his own band called Cregan and Company.
Ah, okay.
And do you know Harry James?
The drummer?
Yeah.
From Thunder, yeah. I don't know him personally, but I know who he is, yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's also Jim's drummer.
Ah, right, okay. Right, I'm with you.
And when he's out with Thunder, I'm the spare drummer.
You cover it, right.
And I tell you, they're one of the best little bands I've ever played with.
Right, okay.
The musicianship is just stunning. Sam Tanner, piano, flipping amazing. He sings like Stevie Winwood as well. He's got the voice. He's in Brother Strut as well.
Right.
Pat Davey on bass, fantastic. And Ben Mills, who on vocals, who he was on the X Factor some years ago. He almost won it.
Oh, right, okay.
Sort of rough, kind of gruff voice and long hair. He's got this sort of Rod Stewart-y sort of rasp to his voice. But I love playing with those guys and playing Rod's songs as well. I mean, I've never been a fan of Rod's, but since I started playing his songs, I've kind of become one, because a mark of a good song is when a musician enjoys playing
it. Yes.
If you don't enjoy playing it, it can't be that great, because it's not worthy of being played. In fact, you know, because I used to try and songwrite, I hated playing my songs, so it's like they're not very good, you know.
Oh dear.
I'm just not a songwriter. I mean, I can have ideas and stuff, but if you leave me on my own to write a song, you might get one song out of a lifetime. But I didn't like playing them. But, playing good songs is where it's at for me.
Well, that seems like the ultimate, really, for everyone, doesn't it? You know.
It's like the wind beneath your wings. You know, you don't have to be flash. You don't have to do anything. You can if you want, but great song, just
good song plays itself.
It does, yeah. Well, it doesn't quite, but I know what you mean.
You know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Look, Stuart, this has been an absolute pleasure, and I thank you for giving up your time so generously. It's appreciated. It was worth the wait.
Yeah, it was, and I think the timing is just perfect, because we'd have had to do another one, in the light of what's happened with Kate's music. It's just the timing is perfect, and my God, being on the most listened to track in the world, and I'm just telling everyone, I'm the most listened to drummer in the world this week.
Hey, just remember this: Steve Gadd isn't the global #1 either. So there you go. You're on it.
That's the funny thing, isn't it? Because it's always been in pockets. We've all been in the charts in pockets.
Yeah.
But never all at once. It's. I don't think there was never a global chart before, was there?
I don't think so.
It's like a digital data sort of trawling thing. You can only do that digitally. But no, it's just definitely been a shot in the arm for me, because I don't know. With all the lockdowns and not very many gigs and stuff, and not wanting to write music at the moment, I was getting a little bit. Should I do something else? Should I just retire? I can't do that.
Yeah,
definitely won't now.
This is the light at the end of the tunnel, isn't it? Eh?
Well, yes, it's only going to be short-lived. But unless, of course, Paul Cates. In fact, the Hounds of Love album has gone in at number 4.
Amazing.
On the Billboard.
Yeah,
Billboard.
It's phenomenal. Yeah,
so it might have legs, into the future. But if not, it was good to get there for a brief period.
Incredible. You end up doing hundreds of these a day now. That's the problem with you.
Actually, I was going to do. I am going to do one at some point with Ash.
Oh yeah.
Ash is doing his own sort of interviews. Right. I don't know if he's done Stuart Copeland yet or not. It said he was. Yeah. But I'll have a chat with him at some point when he's back from Toyah Amos.
Yes, of course. Nice gig.
It's a great gig. Yeah, I mean it's like being with Kate Bush in a way.
Similar.
But he's got all the contemporary grooves.
That
it's kind of get your teeth into. It's all. I mean, he's doing all the Purdy shuffle and all the sort of great sort of hip hop grooves and stuff like that. That's what's happening now, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
If you listen to that Cornflake Girl like 20 odd years ago, it was really, really up there, wasn't it?
Great song. I mean, that's probably one of maybe 3 Toyah Amos songs I actually know, but it's a great song. Yeah.
Yeah, and the drum groove. I don't know who played the drums, but it's fantastic drumming.
It is amazing.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, look, Stuart, thank you very much, mate. Honestly, it's been a pleasure, and hopefully I can get along to see you, at some point somewhere. Who knows?
Yeah, where do you live? Where are you based?
I'm up in North Wales.
Oh, of course, you're in Wales,
yeah. But you never know.
Well, if I'm in the neighbourhood, you come down as my guest.
That'd be lovely. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, mate.
Yeah, lovely to meet you. And thanks for the invite. Sorry it was so long in materialising, but as I said,
we got there and it was worth it. Thanks, Stu.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, mate. Bye now. Bye-bye.